Support for this program is provided by Advanced Light and Sound, professional audio, video, and lighting systems integrator, providing consultations, designs, sales, installation, and service since 1983. And Laytronics, Michigan-based manufacturer of automated cable channel playback equipment and supporter of Access Television since 1984.
There are actually 5 candidates on the ballot for governor of Michigan. We've heard about Jennifer Granholm and Dick DeVos, but who are the other 3? Hello, I'm Charlie Langton, and tonight from the studio at Community Media Network in Troy, we will present the governor's debate between the candidates for the Green Party, the U.S. Taxpayers Party, and the Libertarian Party. I should point out that this is the only face-to-face debate between these 3 candidates. Also, Governor Jennifer Granholm and Dick DeVos were invited to attend the debate, but they are not here today. Let's meet the candidates now. First, from the Green Party, Douglas Campbell. He is from the Green Party, which was formed in Michigan in 1987, predominantly to promote environmental issues. The platform is peace, jobs, and justice. Mr. Campbell is a professional engineer, a member of the ACLU, and is making his second run for governor. Douglas Campbell. Next, from the U.S. Taxpayers Party, the U.S. Taxpayers Party, also known as the Constitution Party throughout the United States. The party advocates localized government, banning abortion, and supports Christian-based morality. Mr. Dasharia has a Ph.D. in engineering and heads a management consulting firm, Bhagwan Dasharia. And finally, from the Libertarian Party, Greg Cresswell. He has been active in the Libertarian Party for 12 years. He is committed to preserving liberty and working for true social justice and supports the Michigan Civil Rights Initiative. He works at Harper Hospital and is a resident of Detroit. This is his 3rd run for elective public office. Now, let's meet the candidates who will be questioning these candidates tonight. First, Fox 2 News reporter Bill Gallagher. Next to him, Oakland University political science professor Paul Kubicek. And finally, WDET FM radio reporter Noah Ovshinsky. One of the most important participants in the debate is our timekeeper. Tonight we are honored to have an honors student, varsity hockey player and sophomore at Troy High School, Will Nahikian. Tonight's debate is divided into 4 parts. First, the candidates will be given an open statement, followed by questions and answers, and then an open forum, and finally, the candidates will be given a 1-minute closing. I should point out that no candidate knows the question, and anything can be discussed in tonight's debate. Now, lots were drawn before the debate to determine the speaking order, and Greg Cresswell of the Libertarian Party will give his first opening statement. Mr. Cresswell.
Thank you very much, Charlie. I appreciate it very much. Noah, Paul, and Bill, thanks for being here. Michigan clearly needs a new direction, and believe me, please, it will never come from my 2 opponents here and the 2 major parties. But for us to start a new direction, we must elect libertarians throughout the state to public office. This, we believe, is easy to do if you are tired of the myth of the 2-party system. Please allow me to give you 5 good reasons to vote Libertarian. We strongly support the idea that everything you own belongs to you and no one else, that everyone is equal under the law. We will defend individual rights, private property rights, and privacy rights, and that politicians have far too much power and control over our lives. And number 5, we support a free market. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cresswell. Next, Douglas Campbell of the Green Party will give his opening statement. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Charlie. The Green Party was founded in Australia and New Zealand in 1970 on anti-nuclear issues. We now have active Green parties in 57 countries throughout the world. United States is actually a latecomer to having a Green presence. As Charlie mentioned, the Green Party was founded here in 1987. We gained ballot access in 2000 with the infamous run of Ralph Nader and Winona LaDuke. We are offering a different kind of theory of politics. No longer do we feel that government and corporations should be treated as separate entities. We look at who benefits and who pays when government and corporations are used as tools to an end. We are looking for a political method that puts people first and money second, and uses the resources of government to help people, not to help campaign contributors.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Next, Bhagwan Dasharia, Bob for short, of the U.S. Taxpayers Party will give his opening statement. Mr. Dasharia.
Yeah, the U.S. Taxpayer Party was started when we have a lot of problem with the high taxes. Our party believes that there should be no taxes and the revenue should be generated by putting a tariff on all the things we import in this country. Then we don't need tax. We are pro-life and we believe that our borders should be secured, but fundamentally we believe in the government of the people, by the people, and for the by the people. We believe very strongly that the last 4 years or 12 years, nothing has been done. Michigan is the last in every category. Now this is the time for change, and the U.S. Taxpayer Party is putting a right solution at the right time to make Michigan great again.
Thank you, Mr. Dasharia. Let's begin the second part of the debate. That will be the question and answer session. Each candidate will be given a question by a panelist. Candidate gets 30 seconds to answer. Let's start now. Bill Gallagher, Fox 2 News. Please ask Doug Campbell.
Mr. Campbell, I'm sure the other members of the panel share my admiration for your courage and commitment, and the other candidates too, to put your name out in the public forum and to stand for something that you do believe in. But I think it's pretty clear that none of you are going to be elected the next governor, as much as you'd like to work and like to convince us that you have some chance. However, the influence of your parties, the influence of your positions might help shape others in their judgment. In that regard, how would you assess the incumbency of Governor Jennifer Granholm, the Democratic candidate running for re-election, and also her opponent Dick DeVos, particularly from the perspective of the Green Party? How would you rate what they've done and what their positions are on the issues facing the people of Michigan?
Well, Governor Granholm's record, of course, is 4 years of broken promises and inaction. Challengers always ask, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And clearly the answer is no. But the same could be said for 8 years, 12 years, 16 years ago, etc. Dick DeVos, I'm a little bit hesitant to comment on. He just sort of blew into the state politics yesterday. He's got $30 million in his campaign budget. And he's buying a lot of television ads to try and shape himself. But I really don't know anything about him, and I don't think anybody else in the state really does either.
All right. Bob Dasharia.
Every statistic, you name it, Michigan, as I said in my opening statement, is the last. You consider unemployment, you consider jobs, you consider education, you consider economic development, everything is last. And this is the time we should change. She has not done anything before that, the Angler administration, they have not done anything. This is the right time to change.
Thank you. Greg Cresswell.
Well, thank you, Charlie. The problem is that the two major parties are in control in Lansing. And what we have had in the past 4 years at least is that our taxes have gone up, fees have gone up, permits and licenses have ggone up, welfare state spending has gone up. The main problem are the two major parties in Lansing that is causing us to have a 7.1% unemployment rate. It's the two major parties, and that's the way you should put the blame.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cresswell. Next, Oakland County Political Science Professor Paul Kubitschek. Please ask Bob Dasharia of the Taxpayers Party the next question.
Mr. Dasharia, as you know, one of the top issues in the campaign is jobs and the general state of the Michigan economy. My question for you is, how responsible do you think the governor is for the overall economic climate in this state, and what specific jobs initiative would you advance?
Governor is the leader of the state, just like a household, a member of the party. I mean, in a house, you are the a leader. You manage the things accordingly, whatever you have resources, whatever you have the expenditure. Same way, Michigan or a state is a boundary where the governor is supposed to be the leader to create the more jobs and all that. But I believe that we should eliminate all the taxes. It should be governed by the a lot of revenue by creating the tariff on the imported material, so that we have enough revenue to take care of the taxes.
All right, the 30 seconds goes fast. Thank you, thank you. Greg Cresswell.
Granholm, in my opinion, gets too much blame and too much of the credit for whatever goes on here in Michigan. But I do want to say that when you look at the two major parties, they are the ones that control Lansing. They have, again, increased taxes, increased spending. They've increased the fees and permits and licenses in the state, which has caused the companies to leave the state. The two major parties that run this state are the problem, not just Granholm by itself. It is the two major parties, the GOP and the Democrats.
Thank you. Douglas Campbell.
We have, from Lansing, a history of failed policies, the primary one of which is corporate welfare, taking your tax dollars and mine, giving them to businesses in the hopes that some jobs or some benefits will trickle down. Nowhere was this failure more evident than in Ypsilanti last summer, when the governor proudly proclaimed that she was giving away $15 million in tax money to the General Motors transmission plant to help them expand. The following week, they laid off 24,000 people in Michigan. This is clearly something that has to be changed. We need to reallocate policies toward people, not toward campaign contributors.
All right, thank you. Next question, Noah Ovshinsky, WDET FM Radio. Please ask Greg Cresswell.
Hi, Greg. I've read that your support of the Michigan Civil Rights Initiative is one of the primary reasons why you've joined the governor's race. Why do you support it, and what do you think it would do to the state if it passed?
Well, hopefully it would stop state-sponsored discrimination. I cannot believe in 2006 there are people who are opposed to what the civil rights laws would pass, to where the government cannot discriminate based on gender or race. But right now, we have a bunch of people who say that the government should deny a person access to contracts or colleges or whatever based on their race or gender. From 1955, where it was wrong, to 2006, where it's supposed to be right for the government to be racist. I think it's wrong.
All right, thank you. Doug?
Affirmative action's job is far from completed. It's a well-established fact that if you submit two otherwise identical resumes, one with the name Margaret on it, one with the name Letitia, that Margaret will get 10 times the response. There is a substantial bias in society. Affirmative action was created to help remove that bias. I fully support affirmative action. I fully oppose the misnamed Michigan Civil Rights Initiative.
Thank you. Bob?
The Michigan Civil Rights Initiative actually is an extension of the Civil Rights Act, which was, converted in a state into Elliott-Larsen law, which is part of the Constitution. These outside people are coming from California and trying to, create a trouble. I think my party does not support Proposal 2, but I'm an immigrant and I am a beneficiary of and I know the in and out why it is important. So I do not support it. I'll vote no on that one.
All right, thank you. Next question, we're going to give it to Noah Ovshinsky again. Please start with Bob Dasharia.
Hi, Bob. We talk a lot about healthcare now and the impact of the healthcare crisis, both locally, statewide, and nationally. What role do you think the state should play in providing, if any, universal health coverage to its residents?
Our party believes that if you create the climate so the people can have a free, will to start a business and create jobs, then we don't need any regulations, rules or regulations, or taxes and all that. So if you create the climate, by having no taxes and privatizing all the government services, having a part-time legislature. You don't need all these to create, further, like incentive to have employer. If you get more employment, they will take care of, just like any normal business.
All right, thank you. Doug Campbell?
The amount of money spent on medical insurance would more than cover everybody in the state if only we implemented a single payer, single administrative healthcare system focused on health, not focused on profits. This is proven in every country in Europe. It is successful, it is effective, it covers everybody. For that reason, the infant mortality rate in Cuba is actually lower than it is in the United States. Not only is it more expensive than the alternative, it's less effective.
All right. Greg Cresswell.
To compare Cuba with the United States is crazy. Why would we want to put the control of health care under the hands, in the hands of politicians? That is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard in my life. I prefer to take care of myself on my own and not have some politician dictate how I should be taken care of. To give them more power and control over our lives is ridiculous in a free society. In a free society, the free market remains supreme. We had over 1,000 of charity hospitals in this state, in this country, and they've gone away. We should maintain a free society and a free market society.
Thank you. Bill Gallagher, Fox 2 News, Greg Cresswell.
Mr. Cresswell.
It's fine. Greg is fine.
The state of Michigan's budget is in very dire straits. And when you really break it down, there's some broad areas of expenditure, education, health and human services, prisons, public safety, and there's not much after that. What broad area in state government costs would you like to see reduced, given the fact that you've articulated these things as your party platform? And what particular function of state government would you like to see eliminated altogether?
Okay, all but 4 departments. There are 4 functions of state government: the prisons, the state National Guard, the state police, and the courts. Everything past that should be in the free market. The budget, which is around over $30 billion, is far too much for the state, for the politicians to have control over. If we was able to receive our money, keep our money, a much prosperous state we would have, where the politicians could not dictate who gets what, as Doug had mentioned earlier, where Granholm was able to say where this industry benefited, where other benefits suffer.
Bob?
As I said before, reduce government by privatizing all the services. Part-time pay for part-time legislature. We don't need that many people, they work only 2 days and get paid, full pay. Every department will have index budget. Whatever they create the revenue, they have to live by that one. Eliminate all advertising and media expenditure by a state government. That's itself is a multi-million-dollar.
Doug?
There's no way you can answer this in 30 seconds. I would start with writing an executive pardon for every person who's incarcerated on simple possession. That would save the state about $200 million a year, aside from the moral issue of locking somebody up simply for enjoying nature's good green ganja. I would order the Michigan National Guard redeployed within Michigan's borders, and I would urge the other 49 governors to do the same and to pressure Washington to end the military siege of Iraq, which Michigan's share of which is $12 billion a year, and there's many, many, many more than 30 seconds to flesh this out.
But we'll have time in the next round for some more of those good ideas. Just a moment, let's keep on going now. Question and answer. Professor Paul Kubitschek, please ask Doug Campbell.
Mr. Campbell, I'd like to ask you about education. As you know, there is a proposal on the ballot, the K through 16 initiative, the proposal 5 to keep public money in education highly funded. Do you favor that proposal? And in addition to spending issues, what other initiative or reform would you like to advance in education?
Well, I absolutely favor that, and I want to caution people that spending more on education, while it's a good thing and it will diversify the state, it will not boost the state's economy nor improve jobs immediately. This is a long-term investment that will take 10 or more years to be realized. In the short term, the better we educate people, the smarter they get, the faster they're going to leave Michigan and its current economy. So we need to understand to take the long view on that. And again, I'm out of my 30 seconds.
Greg?
To solve our problem when it comes to education is to we support a complete separation of education and government. And we also propose that you vote no on Proposal 5. We've got to get the politicians out from education, and we would have when we cut our taxes, we would be able to educate our children as best we see fit. To leave it to the control of politicians to create a curriculum as to what our children should learn and learn, I think is wrong.
Bob?
Our party believes, and I do believe, that we should privatize education. There's no problem for the government to spoke in. As a family, as a parent, you know better how to take care of the kids. Okay, we have to eliminate all the taxes, all the giveaway. I have spent, with the Bever Foundation, $15 million in Detroit education system. There are 42 models, to do this and all that, but nothing. The score is still remaining the lowest in the.
Professor Paul Kubitschek, please ask Greg Cresswell the next question.
Mr. Cresswell, you made a couple observations about the problems of the two-party system. We know this is Michigan and the United States in general has a two-party system, even though many voters complain that they would like more choices. Parties such as yours are in many ways disadvantaged under our current system. What specific proposals would you suggest would help facilitate the development of smaller parties such as yours?
Huge tax cuts for all across the board, number one. Number two, to get rid of the ballot access laws that we have here in Michigan and across the state that requires certain types of hurdles for us to jump. And number three, if we can convince the voters that a part-time lawmakers body here in the state that would reduce their power, I believe we'd be able to convince the voters that this is more than a two-party state.
Thank you. Bob?
I think we have to change the thinking, right now, if people think bipartisan all the time, so we have to change that mentality. The only way you can change that mentality, the public media has the major power. If they invite people and all the five parties invited, that's the way people will have access to them. So I think access is very important. The media can do better job than the regulation.
Thank you. Doug?
The first thing that would need to happen is that Michigan election law be written so that there are simply political parties. Right now, segregation is encoded in Michigan law. It defines major parties, which are in the primary election and which receive many other benefits, and it defines minor parties, which are the second-class citizens in the back of the bus. That's the first thing. The second thing would be for people to shake the idea that they must vote for the lesser of two weasels. If you don't like what's on the ballot, you should vote against it.
Thank you. Next question, Noah Ovchinsky. Please ask Doug Campbell.
Yeah, Doug, I think this is probably a very appropriate question for you, especially. We talk a lot about the health of the Great Lakes and what's happening with the Great Lakes. As your role as governor, what role do you think the state has to protect, if that's your view, to protect the Great Lakes? What can the state do to protect the Great Lakes from water diversion, pollution, et cetera?
Well, one of the things threatening the Great Lakes is the threat of offshore and nearshore oil drilling for the reserves that are in the northern parts of the state. We will never be able to stop offshore oil drilling if we do not switch our modes. We need to start using different kinds of fuels. We need to start using them differently with public transportation, with reduced fuel consumption. Otherwise, the economic pressure to drill the oil when the oil fields of the Middle East and Alaska are tapped out the way Oklahoma's and Pennsylvania's are now, the economic pressure will overwhelm any kind of protection that the government could offer.
Greg?
Three answers. Number one, we must observe private property rights. Number two, we believe that if polluters are forced to pay for damaging private property, the environment, water, those things there, we will see a reduction in pollution. And number three, we endorse selling off the state land to private citizens to where they would best serve and protect the land from polluters.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, we believe, water and they are our natural resource, and they have to be protected. But we also believe that whatever it should be for the public to use. They are, public, we have to enjoy the, environment and all that, then they should enjoy it for public use, just not for private, individual or corporate, reign to, take care of it. It has to be protected, but majority of the time it should be self-sufficient in itself.
All right. Bill Gallagher, Bob DeSharia.
Bob, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, the father of assisted suicide, is very seriously ill by all reports from his attorney. The parole board has denied his request for a parole on several occasions. He was sentenced on the long end of the sentence. He's also requested from the governor that his sentence be commuted. Do you think, if you were governor, should Dr. Kevorkian's sentence be commuted?
My background is whatever is the law, it has to be followed. And I'll follow. If the law allows, I will allow, otherwise, not.
Well,
whatever is the law is.
The law allows the governor with the stroke of a pen to do that. The question is, would you do it?
If somebody is, like convicted of something, then I believe, he has to suffer for the consequences. I'm an immigrant. If I am, do some criminal act, I will be deported because that's the law. So I will follow law exactly what it is.
Doug Campbell?
I would pardon Jack Kevorkian, not because he's in ill health, but because he is a pioneer in letting us take back our own lives. I don't see that he's done anything wrong in promoting the idea that when a person's terminally ill and suffering gravely, that they shouldn't receive the same compassion, the same end of suffering that we now afford to our dogs. I have spoken with Jack Kevorkian before he was famous. I worked with him during the death of a close friend, and whatever his public persona, confrontational persona, he is the kindest, gentlest humanitarian I've ever met.
Greg Creswell.
Believe me, I would pardon Jack Kevorkian immediately upon being sworn in. He received a Freedom Award from our party back in the 98 or 96 for what he was doing. We believe in individual rights and not the politicians determining who should suffer, who should live, or who should die. Those individuals sought out Jack Kevorkian, Jack Kevorkian, for assistance, and he did not murder them, and they went along willingly and sought for his help, and I would pardon him immediately.
All right, let me take the last question in this round. I'd like to know from the candidates, we'll start with Bob DeSharia, name preferably a living politician that you would emulate, you would model your administration after.
Well, living or dead, our party believes, that the Constitution was created, by our forefathers, and they have a good intent to govern this thing. So there's not one person, I can emulate. Our basic thing is we should take Constitution as a guide and follow the rules.
But no particular founding father?
I'm a leader myself, so I follow my own.
Doug Campbell.
Well, I'm obviously following in the footsteps of Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura, but I've always had a fondness for Adlai Stevenson. He was a tough-spoken and thoughtful person. He was the kind of Democrats that I wish Democrats still were today, and in fact, if Democrats were still Democrats like that today, there wouldn't even be any Green Party in the United States. He's been a model for me, and his acceptance speech in Chicago in 1952 was particularly moving. I encourage everybody to dig up a copy.
Greg Creswell.
I admire Ron Paul, U.S. Representative from Texas. He ran under our party label for president in 1988, if I recall correctly, because I did vote for him. And he's a person who I admire. I go to his website a lot, and he clearly states that he supports individual rights in the free market, and that the U.S. Congress is overstepping their bounds in what they're doing. They call him Dr. No in the U.S. House because he's voted down tax increases and tax spending on a daily basis.
All right, thank you, candidates. Thank you, panelists. That'll end the first half of this debate. When we come back, an open forum when the candidates can ask each other questions, and we'll facilitate a discussion of the issues. This is the Governor's Debate. We'll be back in a moment.
Community Media Network provides public access facilities and programming to 11 cities in Oakland County. Residents of the communities we serve are invited to attend a 10-week video production workshop, which provides instruction on how to use portable field production equipment, studio equipment, editing software, and more. Graduates of the workshop can use CMN's equipment and facilities to produce programs that actually air on local cable TV. If you have an idea for a TV series, special, short film, or documentary, CMN can help you develop your skills and provide the tools to present your vision to the 140,000 cable subscribers that make up our viewing audience. For more information, call Community Media Network at 248-589-7778.
Between the candidates, not the Democrats and the Republicans, but the Green Party, the U.S. Taxpayers Party, and the Libertarian. I should point out that the Democrat and Republican candidate for governor, they were invited to attend, but they did not show up. We are going to continue with an open forum where the issues of the campaign can be discussed. There are no time limits. Everything can be discussed. Let's start this part of the debate with Oakland University Professor Paul Kubitschek. Paul?
A top issue again is jobs, the economy, taxes, which we've touched upon a bit. At least two of you have talked about significant tax decreases. I would really like to know, as governor, what the government should do, aside from tax decreases, to foster a better environment for jobs. And if your answer is only tax decreases, my answer is, if you're going to privatize everything, who's going to provide and pay for these services, including education, including the roads, including health care to the retirees, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, I'll start. Education. If we're not paying huge taxes, we can educate our own children or ourselves. Why put the money in the hands of the politician? The roads would be, again, in private hands where we would determine who would repair our roads, as opposed to having the politician determine through contracts with this buddy of mine can do a better job than your buddy. Healthcare, again, would be better off in a free market. We are also advocating regulation reduction to where a hospital doesn't have to go to the government to ask for permission to open up another hospital or another wing or expand through some evidence or proof that we could do a better job. I resent having to go to a politician to run my life or to expand or to prosper. I think it's disgusting. It's wrong.
Education, want to follow up on education? We talked a little bit earlier about education and what would happen if you privatized education. Anybody else for privatization of education?
Well, sure. If you completely privatize education, this works well for middle and upper class people who have income to spare and who have time to spare. But somebody who's working 3 minimum wage jobs simply doesn't have time and energy to educate their own children. And if we go to a completely laissez-faire private enterprise market system of education, what we will end up with is what we had at the turn of the century with the robber barons. People who are already wealthy will do well and they will increase that. People who are poor will get poorer and be worse off. We'll see an increasingly wide gap between the rich and the poor. We'll end up with a third world nation of very many very poor people, and we'll end up with Carnegie Steel and Rockefeller Oil calling the shots. Greg Creswell has mentioned many times.
Listen, Doug, we advocate private scholarships. We also advocate donation. To believe that politicians can educate your child you better than you can educate yourself, then I'm afraid for you, okay? I don't want Granholm, DeVos, or John Kynes or any other politician saying, you know what, we're going to set these standards so that we can tell you that you must take econ when you're in high school. You must take making history when you hit the 11th grade.
But there's a funding issue. So how do
donations?
From where?
From citizens, from corporations. That's it.
What incentive would a citizen have to educate somebody in another city?
We are a generous nation. When the tsunami hit, we donated over $500 million, okay, as a country. When Hurricane Katrina hit, we donated over $500 million down there. And we also donate money to countries around the world. We are a generous nation.
Let me ask Bob Desuri. I think you said you were also in favor of privatizing education.
That's true. In the basic concept of privatizing education is this. If you can take care of your village, you can take care of all the problems of the village. So the village or the particular, like a city or a particular, subdivision and all that, they have to start in thinking. They do a lot of projects. They can do also similarly the education, how to educate. The problem is right now the people think so individually now, they cannot have any concept of, as a village or group together or city together. Once
all the candidates, where would each of you be without public education? Did you have the benefit?
Yes,
go to public school? I just want to know, did you all go to public school at some time?
I did. Well, my parents.
Bob, did you go to public school?
No, I did not.
You went to private school. Right. So you had the privilege of a private school.
Privilege?
Yes.
No. Listen, our kids, my wife and I sent our kids to Catholic school because we know that the government school system in Detroit is terrible. Okay, so now, why is it that it took us each semester, it was like $2,000–3,000 to educate our children through the Catholic school, but here for the state spending for public school, it's $7,600. It's too expensive. The bureaucratic and the boondoggle for the school system is too much. We had a principal there's a principal at our kids' Catholic school, and a secretary. But the public schools that I went to, there was a principal and 3 assistant principals. Okay, education is too big. And the teachers' unions are the cause of the problem because they want a bigger pension, and the benefits when they retire is too
So you're saying you want the
costly,
government to give that $7,600 or so to the individual person, individual family?
Excuse me, no. We should be able to keep our money, and then we determine where our kids are educated.
Anything else on education? Let's try another topic. Anybody?
How about jobs? I haven't heard anything about job creation, except the essential, you build it, they will come. You decrease taxes, they will come. Why is it then that states that have much higher taxes than Michigan, Connecticut, California, Massachusetts, have better employment and more vigorous economies than Michigan does?
Well, I don't know the regulations level in those states, but
very high, very high.
Okay. Now,
all of those states.
If that's the truth.
Very blue states.
All right. Now, again, to allow